it was in early 2018 that I noticed this on my bedroom wall. Yeah, didn't know what it was. I took a picture of it and took it into the office, and I said, anybody ever seen this before? I sensed that it was animal created, but I thought maybe it's a moth or maybe I don't know what it was. So I started doing some research with my friends at Google, and termites kept coming back. So I called a couple of exterminators, and they came out and said, yes, ma'am, you've got termites. Oh, my goodness. So I hired a company. They came out, and they inspected everything. They exterminated inside and out, and did the treatment and stuff, and no more termites. Then they come back, I should say, every year and inspect to make sure the treatment's still working, to make sure there's no more termites. They inspect everything. And so my message today is asking the question, that termites? Because I think termites are a very good metaphor for the negative thoughts, the subconscious thoughts that can eat away at our lives. Because they're quiet. You don't know, I didn't know I had termites, so I saw the exterior evidence, right? Happening from the inside out like we teach. We may not know we've got these negative thoughts or subconscious thoughts operating until we see the effects being reflected back to us in our life. So termites can quietly eat away at our home like these termites of mind can eat away at our life, our purpose, our peace, and our power if we let them. So as I was preparing the message this week, I was thinking, all right, I'm talking about the termites and the subconscious thoughts. Which ones are if we could change these 1, 2, or 3, what would the impact be on our life? Which ones would give us some bang for our buck, so to speak? And what I came up with, the first one is, I'm not enough. I'm unworthy. Unworthiness. That was the first one that came up. And this shows up as self-doubt, perfectionism, and imposter syndrome. And each of these can keep us from sharing our gifts and talents with the world. Things like, I have an idea or I have an opportunity, but I hold back because I don't think that I don't believe I'm good enough to try it, much less to achieve it. So I hold back and maybe that's for somebody else. Or I have an idea and I get stuck over here in the getting ready phase. Anybody ever done that? I'm getting ready to do it, and you get ready and you get ready and you get ready, and you're in analysis paralysis for a while, and the next thing you know, the opportunity's gone. Whoops! Somebody else picked it up and ran with it. Or maybe we're thinking about a new job and we're working on that resume. And working on the resume, but never getting it sent out to the potential employers. Or, my outfit's just not perfect for this date. And I change clothes and keep doing all that until I'm so late for the date that it's doomed from the beginning. Or the report that I've been working on, and rewriting, or the Sunday message that I rewrite until I miss the deadline. These are ways that we self-sabotage ourselves. How does the need to be perfect keep you from sharing your gifts and talents? How does it hold you back? How does it keep you from shining your brilliance into the world? From sharing your personality, sharing your love? What are the ways that you're holding yourself back? When I was in ministerial school, we had retreats every year, and it was usually in the spring when the current class would be graduating, and there might be new people coming in, or just a bunch of us who were still going through. And it was my freshman year, my first one that I ever attended. And I remember one of the graduating students standing up in the circle to share. And he began to share from a very vulnerable place. And it impacted me. I remember it vividly. He shared that he was about to graduate. and how much he felt like a fake or an imposter. Who am I to get up there and deliver a message to people, to tell them spiritual truth? Who am I to do that? I have this title, but I'm not living it. I feel like an imposter. I feel like a fake. And it made an impact on me because I thought, I feel that way, but I'm just coming in. He's already been through the training. Now, maybe I should reconsider this investment. And it was interesting. Then the dean stood up after he spoke, and she said, "What you're experiencing is imposter syndrome. It's a psychological process that we all experience at some time, where we will self-sabotage ourselves and our future, but not believing that we're good enough to be doing what we're doing. You may have experienced this in a job where you or someone you know got a promotion, maybe to the manager, the vice president, president, or CEO, whatever, and never really lived the title, never stepped into the role fully, or can accept it. I'm still one of the team. It's like, no, you're in the executive ranks now. You manage the team, you mentor the team. Or maybe it's education, the bachelor's degree, the master's, the 2 masters, the PhD, got to get more education. Because we feel like we don't have enough yet to be worthy of what we think we want to do. All of this is part of the I'm not enough subconscious thought pattern that we have. Those are ways that it manifests. The second termite that can eat away at our lives is us versus them. Us versus them. Now, this doesn't just show up in politics. We see that as a very prime example in our country right now. It shows up in our judgments, in our defensiveness, and our blame. Us versus them thinking is competitive. I got to get mine because there's not enough. Got to get mine first, then maybe everybody else can have theirs, whatever's left over. That's lack and limitation as well. But it's the opposite of the oneness that we teach. Us versus them is separation. We teach that God is one and that we are one within that. We're in that one, not separate from it. There's no devil, there's no power for evil. There is only God. But in our humanness, we like to have a villain. We like to have somebody or something outside of ourselves to blame for all the things that are uncomfortable, all the things that we don't like. It's their fault. It's their fault. Us versus them also shows up as defensiveness. Our conversations are ripe, fertile soil to watch for this idea of defensiveness coming up. And we might know of defensiveness as excuses. There's a very fine line between making excuses for something and simply stating the facts of what happened. It's very easy to get into excuses. That's blaming. Or making excuses. We're blaming something outside of ourselves. They did the right thing. They did the right thing. I did the right thing. So therefore, it's their fault. Sharing facts is when we speak our truth and we own our mistakes. We own how we messed up. Yeah, I chose to stay in this conversation, this situation, longer than I had planned and missed our meeting. That was a choice. It's not their fault that they kept me tied up so long I couldn't finish my meeting. I couldn't make my next appointment. That's what we have a tendency to do. I missed the meeting because of them. Us, them. Not, I missed the meeting because I chose to finish this one before coming to this one, and I neglected to let you know that. But I had learned to step away from that one, make the call, and come back and finish it. That's how we can overcome blame and step out of blame. When I was traveling last week, I was around a lot of humanity that I'm not always around. Family and friends, airports and people and travelers, and airlines and food service, and just a lot of humanity I was around and exposed to. And I guess I was attuned to conversations more because I was preparing for this message. And what I noticed is I heard a lot of judgment. I heard a lot of judgment about a lot of stuff. Moms complaining about kids. Dads complaining about work. Dads complaining about moms. Moms complaining about dads. The airlines. People travelers complaining about the flight attendants, the quality of the flight, the quality of the food, the lack of the food, the turbulence, everything was complaints and judgment about what was going on in the situation. And as I was thinking about it, it's like, wow, the more that the judgment about this is wrong and this is wrong and this is wrong was going on, the more you could see the turmoil in the person, the physical, the body language, the eye rolls, the deep breaths, the arms crossed, all of these physical reactions that were happening because of what they were projecting as judgment on the other person. So as I was noticing this, I had to ask myself, was I judging those who were judging? And of course I said, yes, I am. Yeah, I'm judging them for judging that. It's like, let me go, that's no big thing. I'm judging them. So it's really an interesting scenario to watch myself in that. And what I began to do was just simply let go. Simply let go. And begin to turn that around to that's their privilege as a being of choice to choose to judge that, to make it wrong, to disturb their own inner peace about it, to elevate their own blood pressure over it, whatever it might be in the physical realm for them. But we have to realize in those situations that when we're judging, when we're complaining and speaking out, we are giving words to our thoughts and to what's going on inside of us. And when we do that, we begin to see more of that reflected back in our own lives. It is a cycle. It is a cycle. And I think if we realize that, if more people begin to make that connection to, I'm thinking garbage thoughts, I'm speaking garbage words, and I'm just seeing more garbage in my life and around and all the bad situations that I'm seeing. And we turn that off and we go into a peaceful place. We begin to see the peaceful things around us. We begin to see the way the flight attendants care for the people and the travelers, the children. We begin to see the way a mom takes time to spend with a small child who may be afraid. We begin to see those little snippets of life that are good and whole and perfect. So letting go is one way that we can balance out some of that defensiveness and judgment. When we catch our own judgment and begin to notice it more frequently, we can develop our own power that we already have within us to change our outer circumstances. Ernest Holmes is the author of The Science of Mind that we teach from, and he says, positive and negative thinking are merely two ways of using the same mind through the power of self-choice. How are you choosing to use your power? How are you choosing to use your power? So our third termite of mind today, more is better. Yes? More is better. These subtle thoughts show up as overworking, overdoing, consumption, and addiction. Overworking or overdoing to make more, to have more, leads to burnout, broken relationships, and losing our own life because we're out of balance. We're out of balance. More is better. Well, more is out of balance from having a balanced life. And if we spend all of our time in our work environment, we're sacrificing our personal life and our home environment. And if we spend more time there, we maybe aren't supporting our home life, our family life. So there's balance that's required. More is not always necessarily better. Overconsumption, as a part of more is better, leads to stuffed houses, stuffed garages, stuffed storage facilities. You may have seen in the news lately all the conversation about big data centers being built in the Phoenix area. Big controversy about them because they're huge footprints, big square footage, and they use a lot of power that's impacting our power grid. And a lot of the cities are now starting to create zoning and regulations about them because it'll be interesting to see how that shakes loose. These things, the purpose of these is for our excess data. If you remember back in the 80s and 90s, we were building mini storage facilities everywhere. We're still building them to hold all of our excess household stuff, right? Excess stuff. The key word here being excess. How much excess is there in your home? Garage, attic, laptop, phone? I was looking at my phone while I was in Virginia visiting family, showing some photographs, and I realized how much junk I've got in my photos that just need to be deleted. But it's time, right? It's time consuming. Anybody else have a million emails that you wish would just go away? Yeah, it's like, okay, delete, 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 delete. And they just keep stacking up. But that's the excess. Is there excess in your mind and your heart? Are there old grudges, old goals? It's probably time for me to give up my goal of being in the Summer Olympics or something, but it's probably not going to happen now. But are there old goals that are just cluttering up our mind? Old grudges, outdated stuff. All of this excess can stop the flow of good coming into our lives. The third part of the more is better thought pattern can be addiction. It can be addiction. The science of addiction is about the mind. What leads some to be addicted and others not? Ernest Holmes has some powerful words to say about this in his writing. He said, addiction is the result of wrong adjustment to life. The habit is the symptom. The real disease is the desire to escape from emotional pain. There is a lack of true self-confidence in the individual. All negative habits are based on subconscious core beliefs preceded by the main belief of unworthiness. Unworthiness is the queen termite. Queen termite, and all of her offspring are blame and unforgiveness, us versus them, more is better. Those are the worker termites that eat away at our lives. We have the power to heal and to transform these negative habits and these core beliefs. We can do that. We have that power within us. We can be our own exterminator, or we can get help from professionals. We've got practitioners and ministers here, there's therapists. There's a lot of ways to get professional help to begin that process of healing and renewing our minds to once and for all surrender these beliefs of unworthiness. And I think you can see that all of the other two are interrelated with the unworthiness. And that truly is the queen that we need to eradicate from our minds. So let's look at our spiritual practices this week. The first one is become aware. We cannot heal something we're not aware of. So we must become aware. Paying attention to thoughts and judgments and actions every day. Noticing what we do. Like my experience in the airport when I asked myself, am I judging them for judging? It was like, yeah, we've got to notice those things in order to heal those things. The second one is name it, don't shame it. These thoughts are not enemies, and most of us have them. They're habits of thinking, and habits can be changed. We can do that. Number 3 is treat it. That's our affirmative prayer. Use affirmations throughout the day as you notice things to turn them around and transform them. But then every day, night or morning, or both is good. Do a spoken affirmative prayer treatment for yourself. Speak it out loud. There's more power in your words when you can hear your words. Recognize your unity in the divine. That you are an individualized expression of the one. And you are worthy of all the best that the universe has to offer. Release any termites into their native nothingness. You don't have to kill them. You just release them back to wherever they came from. And be a grateful receiver. And then let that stuff go. Let it go. We teach a lot about spiritual practices because they are an important way to create a new architecture, a new structure in our minds. We've built these structures over time, these belief systems that we have. And we have to create a new system, a new structure. And spiritual practices are the way that we do that. Through prayer, through affirmations, visioning, journaling, study. Those are the ways that we begin to recraft our minds so that we no longer have these negative and subconscious beliefs that run us that we're not aware of. When we do this, we begin to create a stronger place within us where truth and peace and joy can thrive. As within, so without. This week, I invite you to evict those termites. Invite them to leave. Give the queen a new throne. And any thought that doesn't serve our highest and best good, let it go. So it is.
It is.
So it's your turn if you have any questions or comments about anything that was talked about this morning, and any thoughts at all. What termites of the mind are you noticing in yourself or in others? Mine was the big one in the airport. Judging others for judging others. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Andrew. That's my first time here. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, so I used to go to Fort Lauderdale Center for Spiritual Living. Thank you for having me today. What you spoke about today, I think it was a great talk. Really kind of encouraged the practice for me of self-love and self-compassion, because it's always those words, I'm not good enough, like all those negative thoughts, and to be more compassionate for myself and to practice that self-love and to not compare myself to others because I'm doing the best I can. I think that's all you can really do. So thank you for having me today.
Awesome. Thank you. And happy birthday.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah.
I just have a comment. Practicing this teaching absolutely keeps you in the moment of realizing your thoughts. And when I hear people talk, I quite frequently hear from a certain friend a lot of complaining and I just try to stay in where I'm at and try to give words of encouragement. You might want to think differently about how you're judging and whatnot, but it's this teaching that keeps me there. Yeah. Thank you, Jill.
That is one of the things that can be challenging in our world when someone wants to engage us in the negative conversation. they start complaining and they want you to agree.
Yeah.
And it's our tendency as humans to agree. Oh yeah, yeah. But that can be very challenging because if we're not skilled at shifting the subject, it can create conflict.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's, well, I think about that a little differently. Or I don't know that I saw it that way. Things like that, just a softer intro into it can sometimes. But that can be a challenge because you're right, a lot of people like to lead with complaints. Yeah. All right, thank you all very much. Shall we do our prayer? All right, would you join me? How good it is that we come together on these Sunday mornings in community to celebrate the good, to celebrate this universal energy in which we live, move, and have our being, this presence, this essence, the spirit, that which we call God. It is all that there is. It is the one life and mind, one heart. It is love and joy and peace and balance and harmony. It is life itself. And all of that is here, now, present. Enthroned as me, enthroned as this room, each and every one that is here, all that are gathering with us online today, live, and all of those who listen later. For we recognize that there is no separation. There is only oneness, and we are within it at all times, connected forever. And so from this place of unity and wholeness, I speak my word for and about each and every one of us. I know we are each worthy of the very best that life has for us. I know that there is no separation. I know that we are God beings in form, and that we are made manifest of the one substance that is manifest in all. And that we are and have within us all of those God qualities of love and joy and intelligence and wisdom. And that as we anchor and ground ourselves in that truth of our wholeness, our oneness, our perfection unfolding, that we step forward out into life this week, sharing that good, sharing our light, our brilliance with the world, our gifts and our talents, as only we can, for each of us is individualized and here to express that individualized component of the divine. To be brilliant, to be brave, courageous, joy-filled, happy, loving, kind. And I'm just so grateful for that. I'm grateful for this center and all who attend and support it with their love and their gifts. Grateful for all who come into service. Grateful for our volunteers and everyone in the greater Phoenix area that supports this community in some way or fashion, many in ways we don't even know about. Where we know this is a divine idea in the mind of God. And so it is with a heart filled with gratitude, joy, and thanksgiving that I release this prayer into the action and activity of law, knowing that it is already complete. And we affirm these truths together by saying,
So it is.